um a character right now. That's what we're in the middle of. Currently, we are analyzing like Hisoka's character. He is very infamous. Let's just say that. I feel like, however, there is a lot of things that either one need to be corrected, two, um, I love the anime, I do, but I feel like certain traits are either one exaggerated or two just not as accurate as like the book version of him. So I kind of just want to not only gain some clarity, but also kind of just understand his character more. So that's kind of the main reason I started doing this analyzation in the first place. That being said, yeah, comment down below. What are your favorite things to do during the holidays? And we will get started on what we're going to do today. So, mhm. Today it's going to be very, very simple. It's not going to be like too much. Again, it's not like the podcast itself where I actually go through the whole entire analysis. It's more like a skim through. So, like, we're going to start with news of the night. We're going to talk about today's sponsor, and we're going to introduce what we are going to discuss, which I've already done. So, like, news of the night, how we're going to start this is basically I'm going to say like some anime news of the night, some things that have happened within the anime community. You guys are going to comment on it. You guys are going to say how you feel about it. And of course, I'm going to either say today's sponsor. If there is none, then I'll probably say sponsored by me, aka go look at my Patreon and Ko-fi, in which you can sponsor the show monetarily, right? So we can have like more fun stuff in here. We can start having like more fun activities, which will be great for us, right? It's like more movie times with you guys, more merch with you guys, right? I want to be more interactive with you. So of course, go on ahead and like sponsor monetarily so that I can help you. Help me help you, you know? I feel like I've done enough yapping. Shall we start with some actual news of the night for today? Okay, so like news of the night, anime news of the night, here is what we are mostly going to be talking about. I feel like the first thing that happened within the anime world, at least this is what I've heard, right? The very controversial thing that happened with like the Danda Danda fandom. Put it simply, I don't know if this will like get me banned off Twitch for like saying what people are calling the Dendadem fandom. I don't know if it stopped recently, but people were calling the Dendadem fandom like the Clank-a-Clan fandom, Clank-a-Clan, like fandom because of a recent incident that happened with like a fan artist, right? And the voice actors of the show, which I just find fucking crazy. So here's the thing, right? What happened, to put it in simple summary, is that the fan artist, right, created essentially iteration of the characters within the show. Dan, 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 which is a very fun name. I can't stop saying the name, but it's like they created essentially iteration, which basically fans are allowed to like create whatever form of art that they feel best suits them, that they feel it's like, wow, I feel inspired. I'm going to do art, this art piece because I really like this show or I really like this book and I want to basically show off my art, which is essentially what that artist did. And the artist is young. I don't know what age exactly. What I do remember is that the artist was in their teens. So keep this in mind as I continue on with this news of the day. And what essentially happened is that that teen got profusely attacked by like a bunch of racists that like once again didn't like the fact that the iteration of these characters were black, right? They were basically drawing like the black version of these characters. And even though like the voice actors themselves thought it was like pretty cool and it was like an amazing drawing. I saw the drawing myself and I was like, wow, this is like pretty awesome. You know, like this is a pretty awesome like rendition of these characters. It's like it's so cool. So amazing like what fans could do and how fans could be inspired. But some people didn't take it that way cuz you know, some people be racist and racism is stupid and evil. So it's going to do stupid and evil stuff. And what had happened is that fan got profusely attacked. And then like the voice actor um thought that it was cool too, right? So they put it as like their profile pic and they got profusely attacked. I feel like this happens within fandoms like all the time though, right? And it's not just with this racist incident. I remember I was within, well, it was like basically alive. I was within like the See Me Universe fandom, and I remember like all the incidents that happened with that, especially when it comes to the interaction that they had with the cast of the show and like the creators of the show and how unhealthy it was. And I was like, wow, you know, inter internal thoughts in my head going like these parasocial relationships, they're getting out of hand. They are getting out of hand, but it's not just about that. Of course, you also have to talk about like the racism that was profuse to the point that again, the voice actor had to like kind of take a break. Like y'all always do this. Like y'all can't respectfully say, and you don't know why you don't like it. Here's the thing for those people that did that, because it's not everybody in the fandom. I'm not saying it was everybody. I'm saying for the people that did that, they can't even tell you why. And if they do tell you why, it's the type of stuff that not only would have you side eye them, but to potentially would be like, whoa, if you could like go to jail for your thoughts, these people should. um, but yeah, as far as like my opinions about it goes, it's people like this, man, that truly just ruins the experience for everybody else. And it just makes, once again, the anime community look bad. Even though the majority of people are not like this, right? The majority of people do not have like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word, so I'll just say Yahtzee ideologies, right? It's like the majority of us normal, right? We want to enjoy the art form for what it is. We want to have fun, right? If people want to like draw different versions or draw like this cool thing, this, that, and the third, they should be allowed to do that without like getting bullied. Like, and some people are like, I don't even know if they were fans for real because they were on Twitter, and Twitter is just a cesspool for like right wing ideologies and just racist people in general. So who knows if like they were actually fans or they were just a bunch of racists that saw like black art and got upset. I don't know. Either which way, it was basically one of the many ways that the anime community's reputation kind of got tarnished for the day. Which sucks, because again, I've heard great things about this show. Have I ever watched it myself? No, but I do plan on doing a review for it maybe sometime soon. And hopefully I get to. I've heard great things about the show, like dan 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 dan. Dan. I've heard lovely things, but that whole entire controversy was just something else. It was absolutely something else. I don't know. It was absolutely insane. I'll say that much. Yeah. So that was it for like the news of the day. We're gonna move on to the next topic, which is basically today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is again me. I'm today's sponsor. Yeah, yeah, I am today's lucky sponsor, everybody. Go on ahead and basically support me through my Ko-fi and my Patreon, which should be within my link tree. If you're on Twitch and you find like my about page and you go to my link tree, you guys can support me on there monetarily. So again, we can have like more fun stuff to do and more like fun things. And of course, I do plan on like building my YouTube channel more, so hopefully funding that so we can get to have like more fun video concepts. Like it's gonna be amazing for everybody, fun for the whole familia. Not just yeah, not just me, whole family. It's like we get to have the best of the vibes, like the best the bippity boppity vibes here. I promise. It's gonna be good fun, everybody. It's gonna be good, grand fun. We love to see it. I would say that for today's sponsor, that being me with the Ko-fi and the Patreon. Again, if you are on Twitch, make sure that you follow that. And if you are on Instagram, because I know this is for all platforms, so if you're on Instagram, you can absolutely find my Ko-fi and my Patreon also through the links within my about page. So if you go to like my about page and like where I am. It's like, hello, this is my Instagram. There should be like two links. Go to the second one for the art and analysis links because the first one is like for music students. I'm also a music teacher. Go to my other one and pretty much you will find my everything, all my links, all of it. I don't do anything freaky before you ask. Like this is pretty safe for work, you know. No, I don't hate anybody that does the freaky actions. I'm just not that type of girly. It's not even like an I'm not like other girls kind of thing. It's literally just like it's not my thing, right? If you came here for weirdness and freakiness, I'm not the girl for you. I am a normal person. Okay. Um, Not to say that people who do that aren't normal. What I'm trying to get at is it's not my line of life. Okay. This is what I do. I do anime reviews and I talk about TV shows for fun. Yeah, that's what I do. That's my thing. So anything else is just like I don't I know there's like I have to say it because it's like whenever people hear like Linktree, it's like Linktree to what? I'm just like, calm down. Linktree to stuff like my Ko-fi and my Patreon, along with like my podcast. If you're willing to listen, or if you want to listen, if you're like, I really like Hunter x Hunter, and I really like all these different thoughts about it, and I want to know more. I'm curious about these characters, or I'm curious about what it's all about. And I know that for the people that are curious, I did start off like the podcast like straight from the gate for more so people that already are aware of the series and already know everything, and I'm kind of just like analyzing the characters as is, like as somebody who already knows about the series. I will do a special edition episode, like an introduction episode of like what is Hunter x Hunter and what is it all about. Don't worry, for those of you that are new, I will have that podcast episode coming up. I think it will be a video one, so it'll also be like on YouTube, and it'll be fun. It'll be like edited and shit. It's gonna be amazing, and you guys can basically see the explanation of what it is. That, or I'm not sure. One of my favorite like reviewers and like analyzers, his name is Alexander. I don't know if he has an explanation that I'll probably like link below for those of you that want like a good introduction of like the Hunter x Hunter series. If he doesn't have one, I'll make one. If he does have one, I'll link it down below. We shall see. All you need to know is that I'll guide you through it. It's okay. It's like you're not alone. I'm going to guide you through this. We're going to be okay. Okay? You're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. I got you. Relax. All right. Now, don't be alarmed or anything. Like don't be swayed by the meanness. I want you guys to enjoy yourselves, okay? I do. I think we should continue with the next topic because if I don't, we're going to sit here forever. You're just going to hear me yap on and on. It's the whole thing. Let's talk about the topics of today. So, Topic of today, number one, we are going to be talking about the Hisoka Analysis podcast series that I have basically started. And we are going to be talking about the recent episode. Recently, I have talked about kind of the topic of Hisoka's mom's death and how that impacted his character in more detail. For those of you that don't know about Hisoka in great detail, right, besides again, some of the things that I will clarify later, which is the majority of people. Um, he's an orphan. Let's start there. Yeah. I believe both his parents. I don't think both his parents are alive anymore, but even when both his parents were living, he was raised just by his mother, right? And I did have like previous podcast episodes kind of explaining that in a bit more detail, but it's like he was raised just by his mom. There were enough clues within the pre-canon which Togashi approved of. So it's like, to me, it might as well be canon. Everybody has different opinions about the pre-canon. To me, I'm using it as canon. So that is the resource that I'm using. Everybody's different though. I respect everybody's differences, but for me, we're using the pre-canon. So you better pick up that book and start reading it with me, okay? Because that is the source that we're using. And basically within that, there were enough clues for me to be like, oh, he was raised by his mom. Cool. No problem. A single mom that works two jobs, that loves his kids, that loves the kids or whatever. That song. Oh, good gracious. I'm a survivor. That type of beat. So, yeah, that's essentially the type of beat we're on. And, that's the type of beat that we will stay on, I guess. So, he was raised by his mother, right? Single mom. Raised him on her own, this, that, and the fourth. And she ended up bedridden 2 years and six. It really is a Hamilton reference when you think about it, okay? I'm singing it now because it's like, to put it into simple terms, for those of you that are also musical theater girlies, like the part where like Eliza basically sang about like Hamilton's mom and what happened to her. Do that again, but for Hisoka, basically the same thing. You got the same fucking thing, okay? Put it into layman's terms. Had a mama, raised by his mama. Mama got sick when he was at a young age. Mama dead. He on his own now because every single other of his family, I don't know if they were there at all. Or again, it was like a situation in which like I assume like the rest of them died too, somehow. So he literally had no one else to take him in. There's that. Which is actually really sad when you think about it. It's like I can't even say all jokes aside because it's like who the fuck would joke about that? Not me. It's like, well, I feel bad. Like, dude, I'm so sorry. Which is probably why I'm also like paranoid now because I had someone recently pass away in my life due to an accident. Even with illness, I feel like I would still be paranoid. But accidents, guess what? I guess I'm still traumatized for life. Like, oh god, I'm never gonna get over it. And now I feel like my life, personally, has been fucked up forever. So I feel like, in a lot of ways, I could probably relate to like what this character is somewhat feeling. Probably not relate like all the way, obviously, but like relate enough to understand grief at the very least, right? And the concept of grief and how it interacts with you personally. I just don't think I would ever be the same either. So I don't think it'll be enough for me to mentally snap or anything, but I came pretty close to a permanent crash out. Let's just say that. I came pretty close. I had a couple of close calls where it was like I ain't a crash out yet, but I finna be. I finna be. I might do it. I might do it. I might feel like at this point in time, who knows, everybody? I probably gonna lose my shit someday. I don't see how it hasn't came yet. At the same time, it's coming. It's coming. That I will rue the day. How about that? Like, y'all, I will rue the day. It will be an insane moment for everybody. So, yeah, his mama is no longer with us. Let's just put it simply that way. His mom's no longer with us. She passed away, and now we are it's just him. He raised himself. Well, kind of. He raised himself for a little bit, and then after he raised himself, he got picked up by his manager, which we'll talk about in the next two episodes. So like after the next episode, we're gonna talk about him being picked up by his manager and him being like a child star and all that other fun stuff. Woo! That's gonna be a joy for me to discuss. Journey, by the way, it's gonna be fun, right? It's gonna be fun. I feel like we're gonna have a good time. Are we? Maybe. Maybe not. We'll see. Ba, 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 ba. I'm just thinking. I've just been thinking for a little bit about a lot of things. I've been thinking about for the longest time, especially while I was kind of analyzing this show, like currently, I had like the craziest time. I'm not gonna lie. I would say that it's absolutely was insane what was happening for me. Same time for all of us. Okay? My brain went blank. I swear to God. I need to focus. We were talking about his mom's death. Guys, I believe that when his mom died, right? Obviously, it affected him in like a personal way. Like, no shit, Sherlock. You know what I mean? I don't think it was easy for him. I don't. I think it's something that he had to deal with. No kid should have dealt with, right? Because he was a kid when this all happened. I need y'all to remember he was a kid when this happened, when his mother passed. And he basically had to end up like being on his own completely. And I talked about within my podcast how that affected him in a deeper way. I won't go into too much detail here, but All you need to know is that that shit hurt him. Yeah. And it did build a piece because the main thing with my analyzations is I like looking at the human condition in pieces. Like bit by bit, what has made you become the person that you are today? Like, how did you end up being you? You feel me? So I feel like with this, it really was a good way for me to kind of just like check in on like everything and basically see everything for kind of just what it was. I just had to like just sit back and like think for a minute and be like, this is what it is. This is everything that it is and everything that it could be. But like you are the person that you are today because of what happened in your life, what has made you in your life. You know? So I felt like those were just very key things that I had to focus on for every character analysis I've done. And I did the same thing for Hisoka's character. I did. And it definitely was not easy for me, I would say, for this character analysis that I've done so far. I have dealt with a lot of personal things that basically kind of intruded a little bit. It was just it was a lot of stuff. It was basically me going in and being like, what the hell? Again, I dealt with like a recent traumatic event myself, so I may not sound like as congruent or like as cohesive as I used to. I'm not the same. When they say trauma really affects you, like I knew in some detail, because to be fair, I had like other traumas within my life, but like just having it all compounded together, I'm like, wow, I'm really living it. I'm living the challenge. I'm living the challenge. Like this, it was not easy shit to deal with. I dealt with it and I was like, what? And I say I dealt with it, but to be honest, I'm not really like over it. I'm not. Like it's still affecting me to this day. I don't think I'll ever be normal either. I don't know how people expect you to be like normal after traumatic events. You're never going to be normal again. I didn't think that was true myself. Like I did think it was true, but it's like you don't really know until you experience it yourself. And like once you do, it's like, oh yeah, I see it now. It's like I'm never gonna be normal again. Like girl, I'm possibly like fucked up forever. Whoops. Like I'm fucked up forever. It is what it is. I can't do shit about that. Tragic. It is. But like anyways, enough about me because it's not even supposed to be about me. We're supposed to be talking about like how his mom has impacted his character and how it ended up with like him basically being affected by her death. Some things that I didn't talk about on my podcast was like how she was like more so of a spiritual slash power guide, right? And this would probably be similar to like I don't know, it was Agatha all along. If you watch that series, or if you watch just like any series where there are like essentially witches or like covens and stuff like that, or like probably a recent example I can remember is like American Horror Story, and they were like, it's the Coven series, and they were basically like within the school, and they were like teaching all these like kids, kids like between like teenage slash young adults, and they were like in this coven with like these older like witches. And I'm saying it the nice way because it was actually a whole lot messier. I mean, it was fun, but it was messy. Okay, the girls were messy. They were down. They were messy. But it was basically just having like these older witches teach like these younger witches like how to use their power and how to use it to their full potential. Speaking of which, potential is something that this character likes a lot. Okay, just a theme that we'll probably be bumping into like over and over and over again. It's like you better get used to that word because I'm gonna keep saying that word till I get sick of it. It's like, girl, what the fuck? I'm gonna get sick of that word. But it's like, yeah, that's the word you're gonna have to get used to because this character likes that word. Okay. So and yeah, anyways, back to the coven. It's like the coven just kind of like over and over and over and over again with like these younger witches and kind of guiding them how to use their powers. And what I'm basically saying is that, and the clue was that, my mother was something something woman. I can't show the page. So I'm probably just gonna have to like read it off to you guys because I can't show it to you guys. Because manga copyright is insane. Like I would be straight up booted off the platform for showing you. So I can't show you, but I can read it to you. Uh what was said. So what was said was I'm trying to find it, y'all. I'm trying to find it. It's somewhere in here, I swear. Swearsies. My mother was a very skilled lady. That's what it said. Yeah. The English version, at least. I know for like the Japanese version might be slightly different, but for the English version, it's my mother was a very skilled lady, right? So again, it's clear to see like where he not only learned but probably got his powers because I think his powers are genetic. Like recently within Hunter x Hunter, they explained like either someone again could like force you to have like powers, kind of like with like the boys and how they force it, except it's compound V like for the boys, so it's like through a liquid. And here in Hunter x Hunter, they basically kind of just like split your nervous system open, which is I feel like at least with the boys, at least it's like a liquid, like give me that. Do not split my like nodes and like nervous system open. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. So they can either like force, if somebody wants to do this, they could either force themselves or force their kids to have like powers through that. Like basically kind of splitting your internal body open and kind of opening your nodes, your nervous system and all that. Oh, or two, you end up born with it. I think in the case of Hisoka, I think he was born with it. I think Hisoka was born with his powers. I think here's the theory that I had, right? Obviously, his mom had powers, like she had none. I think it was a long lineage type of thing. Like it just went through the family. It was just something that they had. Um, Obviously, it's more complicated than that, but in putting it in layman's terms, she had none. She passed it down. But I think also, and here's the thing, and I think this adds on to like kind of the parallels that he has with like the main character, because they're kind of like foils to each other, slash he is like the main character. They have multiple main characters. Like now it's different. Now the main character is somebody else. But like in the beginning, when the series focused on the children, the main character was like, of course, Gon, and he had his best friend Killua too. So it's like we were mostly following the kids. Now we're following the adults, so it's completely different dynamic now. But like back when we were following the kids, the parallel obviously that I'm referencing, which I feel like that was one of many Tagashi's points, right? Kind of like looking at a childhood what if versus like the corrupted adult. Ooh, which is probably something Carl Jung has talked about. It's a psychologist for he's a psychologist for those of you that aren't aware, and we are going to be referencing him a lot too because we're going to also talk about archetypes pretty soon. It's going to be fun. Um but like anyways, back to the main point of going over like the dark shadow and like looking at the childhood, like the innocence of childhood, right? So like for Gon is basically the lighter childhood version of Hisoka, and it's like Hisoka is basically the darker adult version of Gon, like a potential like what if for the both of them. Like if Hisoka probably had like a way healthier childhood, and we're going to talk about like we just talked about the beginning. Like right, we're at the beginning where it's like his mom recently passed away. He grew up within poverty. But I know a lot of you thinking it's like, that cannot be like enough for him to be like who he is today and him having like this heavy individualistic mindset. It's like, how did the fuck did that happen? Because I just don't. There's plenty of people who had those similar experiences and they did not end up like that individualistic. They did not end up that selfish, put it simply, right? It's like they still had like a positive like interaction with others. There's people who grew up like that do not end up having like dismissive avoidance, put it simply. And it's like, how the fuck did Hisoka end up like that? And it's like, don't worry, we're only at part one. It gets worse from here. Put on your seatbelt, bitch. Seatbelt on. You see this? Seatbelt on, because it gets worse from here. It does not get better. It does not get any better. I just started at the beginning. We're just getting hot, right? I'm turning on the oven. We're turning on the oven. It gets worse. It gets worse for him. Hello, everybody. For those of you that knew, we are just doing our Hunter x Hunter discussion of the day, where I basically talk about my analyzations, my podcast series, and recap as to like what basically happened while I was talking about my podcast series. It's like recapping about that. It's like, go on, sit down, grab a drink. I have mine. Grab a snack, you know. We're gonna be here for just a little bit, just a little bit longer. Um, Before I dismiss this like for a long while, because we will not be back here on Twitch till next year. Ooh, guys, it's about to be 2025. I'm moving off topic but on topic. We'll get back to what we were talking about, but like it's a new year, everybody. It's about to be a new year. New year, new me. Let's pray that, I get enough therapy to like where my brain doesn't consistently end up like fucked up all the time. I'm telling you, trauma, it be there. Trauma is real, everybody, and it be fighting me like a motherfucker. Like, oh my god. Like, I understood these traumatized characters to a degree, but like when shit hits, like when really life really be hitting you, it's like, damn, I'm surprised I'm not a bitch every single day. I too would hate people and hate life, and I kind of do now. Like, I'll be honest, I have been more and more sardonic the older that I've become. Like, it's a little hard to be optimistic in these trying times, okay? It does not help that I'm American, so everything just sucks more. Which, speaking of which, for this character, he's basically the equivalent for his always character. It's like he's the equivalent of an American. And I felt like after me basically having those like equivalents down, it's like him be the equivalent of an American. It's like a lot of his behavior makes more sense to me. I just sat back there and I was like, oh, no, that makes more sense now. Thank you. That makes more sense now. Thanks. Honestly, that's all you had to say. It's like he's the equivalent of an American. It's like that's all you had to say. Have a good day, everybody. That's all you had to say. It's like yum 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 yum. The deep da 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 psychology. Hey. My goodness. Oh my gosh. Hello. I have just continued this conversation. How are you? Ah, hold on. Let me see if I can get this typing thing rolling. Hey. That's good to hear. I I just started on this like conversation for Hisoka essentially and just HxH in general. I have started talking about like kind of his pre-canon concepts already. I have not done, and this is probably because it's a long time in coming, but I have not done post canon slash succession, not post canon, English. I have not done like canon, like current time slash succession war yet, which I think I will get to pretty soon. So I think, where was I? I'm gonna probably wrap up this first part, but like, yeah, anyways, trauma deeply affects people, you know? Life be a bitch for everybody. His past, foundations, blocks. We talked about the first part in the podcast, which is more so like how different things have affected him. Death of his death of his parent that did raise him. Abandonment of the other parent because his daddy wasn't there. Mm. Tale as old as time. And again, Tagashi, like within the writing, says like that's something I kind of always wanted for his character. It's like you, and these like Disney producers, y'all need to get in the room together because for some reason, y'all be thinking character development equals we need to kill a parent off. We can't have healthy families in this bitch. It's like kill them off. Yeah, it took so long for me to like research because I mixed it in with like obviously like the manga itself, and then I was reading into like psychology in general. It took so long. I do this for all my analyzations, but it's like I think that's what Tagashi would have wanted. Us analyzing it in this very intricate way, or at least that's how I think is how he would have wanted it. I feel like I understand the story better because of the fact that I watch it so intricately. Like all the details, it's like I'm piecing it together. It's like a fun puzzle for me. It also drives me insane, but it's a fun puzzle. Very, very fun puzzle. It's fun. It's truly a joy. It's truly a joy. It's a fun journey for me specifically. But like, yeah, I had all of that going on for the next podcast episode. It's like obviously the next one is more so, and we're gonna get into like this is essentially da 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 the history of glam glass, which is again because it is a copy or a version of Las Vegas. It has pretty much the same history of Las Vegas, and I think I will basically have an analysis episode. I don't know if it's going to be audio or video of like comparing like the history of like Las Vegas and the history of Glam Glassland, like any similarities, any like differences. There's gonna be a whole lot more similarities and differences because it's like Las Vegas is the inspiration. That's what the inspiration was. So it's like that is truly what they're going to have like the most similarities to. So it's like he's a Vegas kid. Yep, a Vegas kid. So it starts off with like the history of Glam Glassland and what it's about and like introducing the setting. And then it kind of, I think the first scene was basically him, and this is probably another sad thing, but I think this is probably why Tagashi approved this as like the pre canon. Whereas like the first scene, like after they have like the introduction of the setting, it was him like beaten up, poor baby, beaten up on the ground, like a bunch of older people. It's kind of just like beating up this poor kid. He's out there just laying there. This baby's just laying there on the floor. And that is when his manager found him. That like so like after the setting, that's the first thing we get introduced to. It's just like, oh, is he having the time of his life? Sarcastically, he's not. It's terrible. It's terrible. He's going through it. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's like, oh, how much more worse could life be? I'll get into that for like the next episode. So it's like being a homeless child. That is the next episode, which is basically what his experience might have been like on the streets. Like the whole entire experience of that. Because I talked about a little bit of it. Laughing through the pain. It's like I talked a little bit about it, but we will be talking about it in more detail. Again, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's either me laughing or me crying. And I decide I don't want to cry because that takes too much energy. So I'm gonna laugh. It's not funny though. It's a coping mechanism. It's not a good one. It gives me weird stares. It's not the best reaction to have to tragic events. I'll say that much. Like, obviously, I don't laugh all the time, but there's just certain moments where it's like, that's inappropriate. Why did I laugh there? Like, that's not funny. Shit was sad. The fuck did I laugh for? But, like, yeah, that is kind of the synopsis and like Eddie and everything through the whole entire podcast episode and what I talked about last time. And being a homeless child would be the next part. So we're going to talk about even more of his childhood trauma. Woohoo! No wonder he is